Hello. Today I wanted to show you my new, to me anyway, Atari 800 XL. I got this from a good friend of mine, Commodore Sam. One of the first things I needed to do was replace the keyboard membrane in it. Some of the keys would register being pressed down all the time when they weren't being pressed at all. It was just an old membrane, and I got a new one, and it works great now. Some of the other things that I have on it is a USB-C power connector. I do have the original power connector or power brick that came with it, but it is original and I don't want to risk it going bad and damaging the computer. So it only uses 5 volts, so a small little adapter like that works great. Kind of the next thing we got on the back here is the SysCheck V2. That is a cartridge, or not really a cartridge, a device that plugs into the parallel bus interface port. One of the main things it does is allows you to test your RAM and see if you have any bad RAM chips. If you do have bad RAM chips, it can replace the RAM on the board with the RAM inside so that you can use your computer until you can get your RAM chips fixed or replaced. It also is an OS switcher, so you can substitute different Atari OSs, including the SysCheck, a QMEG, and a high-speed SIO patch that you can substitute in with that. And the last thing that it does is it is a 512K Rambo memory expansion. So get all those nice cool things. It actually works on an XE, 130XE with these connectors for the ECI and then a pass-through, but I don't need any of that, so they're just sticking up like that. Yeah, another thing that we have in here is the FujiNet, which is a really cool device for the Atari, and it's actually for Apple IIs and several other different platforms, but I believe it started with Atari. That is a virtual floppy disk emulator, a printer emulator, a modem emulator, and a tape drive emulator, and a network device. So you can actually browse and load files directly off the internet or the network. So in addition to being able to load them off the SD card that's built inside. And you'll see this little blue cable coming from the SysCheck because Atari 800 XLs do not provide power on the PBI port. It needs to get power off of that pin off the joystick port to work. On other models like the XE, it doesn't need that, but mine does. Okay, now we're moving on. We have the A8picocart. It's a very cheap little cartridge emulator that it has a 16 megabytes of built-in memory it's on the cart. You plug the card into your computer via USB-C to transfer files. It doesn't have a lot of onboard storage and doesn't have an SD card slot, so it can only hold a few hundred cartridges, images, but that's usually enough. The other thing is that it can only do cartridge images up to 128 kilobits. It doesn't do the 256, 512, or 1 megabyte cartridge images. So there are other devices like that, this Ultimate Cart, AVG Cart, other things that are more expensive and also harder to get here in the United States because a lot of them are made in Europe. But I do also have the Backbit Pro. I had this already for my Commodore computers and with the adapters that connect to the Commodores, but I did get the Atari 8-bit adapter, and it does work in here. And I do use it when I want to use the larger cartridge images that this PicoCart doesn't support, but it's kind of a pain to get in and out. This adapter gets caught up on the metal doors that are in here when you take it in and out. So it's kind of a pain to get in and out. And if it's in here, if I want to use the FujiNet, I got to pull it out. At least with the A8picocart, with this menu, you'll see that you can press a button and go ahead and boot up off of something else. So I don't have to keep pulling it out, only to, change files on it. So without further ado, let's get it going. So this is the A8picocart. It has its own little menu here. We're just going to go ahead and load a cartridge here and see what that looks like. I did this. There we go. All right, so we're not gonna play games all day. We'll just see what else we can do. So, like I said, this is, the PicoCart's mainly for cartridge images. It can load XCX executables. It can do some ATRs, but it's kind of emulated, so it's not as good as anything connected directly to the SIO port like the FujiNet is. So we'll go ahead and hit X to boot the FujiNet. Look at that. So host lists on top, drive slots on the bottom. You could do up to 8 images or a tape cartridge. First entry is SD card. I could mount something off the SD card. ATRs, ATXs, XEXs, basic programs, cassette images. But and then these other ones are online on the internet, which we could browse those too. But I have my laptop set up as a TNFS server, so we can just load something over the network directly off my laptop. We'll load Prince of Persia. Slot 1. Boot. We could do a terminal emulator program with the virtual modem if we wanted. If we loaded a program that we could print something to a virtual printer and then download a PDF file of that print job and print it out on a modern printer. All kinds of fun stuff. My Atari did come with an Atari 1010 physical tape drive, but to my avail and effort, I cannot get the tape drive to work right. Probably needs to be serviced, but we can load tape images if we really want to from FujiNet. It's blinking away, reading the disk image down there. Okay, I guess we'll try one more thing. Let's reset the FujiNet. If you really want to know what it's like to load a tape, we're going to start it, but we're not going to finish it because it takes too long and it's really loud, but you can at least get the experience of what this is like. So we're going to eject the floppy disk. I already have a cassette tape image mounted in slot 8, which is where you mount cassette images. So we're just going to go ahead and boot again and get to basics so we can load this. I told you so. Now imagine this happening for at least 5 minutes. Could be up to 10 or 15 minutes doing this over and over again before the game finally loads. Sometimes some games you, instead of doing C load, you load C colon for some other ones and other machine language ones. I got to turn this off. I can't stand it. That's what happens. We're not going to sit here for 5 minutes. You hold down the start button when you turn it on, and it loads those type of games. So that's another way to do it. But there you go. Thanks for watching.